Did you see the Associated Press in the room or reporting on when President Bukele in his black t-shirt met with Donald Trump in the Oval Office in a scripted moment in order to try to keep Abrego Garcia in custody in El Salvador's prison? I didn't either. And that's the problem, because a federal judge, a Trump appointee no less, Trevor McFadden, about 7 or 8 days ago, ordering a preliminary injunction against the Trump administration, finding that they were committing viewpoint-based First Amendment discrimination, to bar the Associated Press because they won't acknowledge that big body of water off of Florida as the Gulf of America. Yes, we're back to Gulf of America gate with the Trump administration. Instead of abiding by the judge's order to immediately cease and desist from discriminating against the Associated Press, where over 1/2 of the world's population gets its news from. I'm not making up that one, folks. Instead, they keep playing a shell game with the Associated Press, saying, we're going to let you in. Oh, sorry, it's not your turn yet. We're thinking of a number. No, that's not it. 7, 8 days have gone by, supposedly a rotating position, never opened up for the Associated Press. And then the Trump administration had the balls, the temerity, I say that a lot about the Trump administration lately, to just declare, we're going to change it. No more wire services. So all the wire services, Reuters, Associated Press, and the rest, they're now barred. Now there's just going to be one print reporter and one photographer there, and it's at the discretion of the White House. This is violation of the First Amendment, and more importantly, a violation of the judge's order, an order the judge believes in so much that he already denied a request to stay his order, meaning they have to comply with it, while an appeal has been taken to the D.C. Court of Appeals, which has an oral argument on Thursday, which we're going to live stream on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. We're on the MeidasTouch Network and Legal AF. I'm Michael Popok. Let's get to, I saw it coming. I saw the Associated Press was declaring to the world, hey, we didn't get picked for the Bukele Oval Office confab. We didn't have a photographer there for anything. We have an order in our back pocket from a federal judge wearing a black robe. Why aren't we in the rooms? And so here now they have filed a new motion to enforce the preliminary injunction. We're not even at temporary restraining order. We're one level up from that at preliminary injunction that Judge McFadden, a Trump appointee, issued, finding that it is more likely than not, by a preponderance of evidence, the Trump administration is going to lose, that they violated the First Amendment rights, the freedom of the press, of the Associated Press, as a retaliation because they won't call it the Gulf of America in their style book. And that was based, and there's a 40-page decision I did a hot take on about a week or so ago, and that was based on a mountain of evidence, including Donald Trump's own words, the press secretary, Carolyn Levette's own words, the White House chief of staff, Susie Wiles, her own words, clearly retaliating against the Associated Press because they weaponized their style book. And McFadden said that is what the Constitution does not allow. And you're causing them irreparable harm because they're going to go out of business if you don't let them into the room. They're hemorrhaging because their main job is to be the wire service to the people and the people of the world. So cut it out. And what he did is he stayed his injunction for a short amount of time till the 13th of May to give the Trump administration time to take an appeal. So they filed the appeal. But when the 13th came and went, last time I looked on the calendar, it's the 16th. So from the 13th till now, they should have let in the Associated Press, but they're not doing it. And they're refusing to do it. So they asked Judge McFadden, stay your order so we don't have to comply while we're appealing. And he said, no, you're going to lose. You have no credible argument. The likelihood of success on the merits, which is a driving force in injunction evaluation by a federal judge, is against you. You're not likely to prevail, and I'm not lifting my injunction because you've taken the case up to an appellate court. Now, we got an appellate court that's set for oral argument on Thursday. And that's going to be interesting. I'll tell you why. I don't blow smoke or sunshine here on MeidasTouch. I don't love the 3-judge panel that was randomly selected here. I don't love the panel. I love one third of the panel. I love Judge Pillard. You know, she's an appointee, I think, of Biden. Judge Pillard, very, very good. Very, very good. I like her a lot. So I think she's Obama or she's a Biden. Katsas is a judge on the D.C. Circuit Court, a court of appeals. No, he's a Trumper, and he's always a Trumper. I don't think, except for once since Jan 6th, has he ever ruled against Donald Trump. I'm just calling balls and strikes here, folks. And Judge Rayo is interesting. She's I don't like what her rulings have been lately. She's sort of been a weather vane. She basically sides with Trump, on occasion doesn't. It's not a great panel or strong panel. The 2 strongest personalities there are going to be Pillard and Katsas. It's going to be a Pillard-Katsas battle to see who can drag Rayo over with them for a 2-1. This is going to be a 2-1 decision about whether the president of the United States, named Donald Trump, because he doesn't like the Associated Press, because they refuse to call it the Gulf of America, is allowed to then bar them and take away their credentials from all limited access locations, including the Air Force One and the Oval Office, where Donald Trump does a lot of his theatrics. The Oval Office has become like the new Broadway stage for Donald Trump. Do you ever remember any president not only using or overusing or abusing the Oval Office backdrop more than Donald Trump because he thinks it's a commanding presence? I mean, he's in that Rose Garden in the Oval Office almost as much as he's in the sand trap when he's playing golf every weekend. And in the Oval Office, and it's not that big. For those that have, I've taken a White House tour. Hopefully you have too, or you will in the next administration. It's not that big of a room. I think people are always struck by how small the Oval Office is. And he crams it in. I joked on a hot take recently during when Bukele, the petty dictator of El Salvador, who's basically has been delegated the responsibility for running our constitutional republic by Donald Trump. We take our marching orders apparently from Bukele, the black T-shirt wearing with the suit jacket guy. You know what I'm talking about? During that, what they called a bilateral summit, looked a lot like a BS press conference. It was just jam-packed with people. It was like Stephen Miller was there, and Pam Bondi was there, and Vice President J.D. Vance was there, and 6 other people were there, and a stormtrooper was there, Darth Vader. I mean, everybody was like packed into this room for no reason. You know who wasn't there? The Associated Press. But he uses the Oval Office over and over again. He overuses it, and he's not letting the Associated Press in. And that's the problem. Even Trevor McFadden, in his order from a week ago, said, you don't have to let anybody in. You can have a pressless administration. You don't want to address the press. You don't want to have a press secretary. You don't want to have a press secretary room, a briefing room. You don't want to bring anybody into the Oval Office or anybody onto Air Force One. That is your prerogative. But if you're going to let anybody in, then you can't violate one of the entities like Associated Press's First Amendment right and bar them because you don't like what they have to say or you don't like their viewpoint. That is the sine qua non of a violation, a textbook example of a violation of our Constitution and First Amendment rights and freedom of the press. But now it's going to be over to Pillard, Katsas, and Rayo on Thursday. Now, before the judge is the motion to enforce the preliminary injunction. So at the trial, just a little bit of teachable moment here. At the trial court level, the judge goes about his duties unless and until he's told to stop. It's like red light, green light by the appellate court. Stop! He hasn't been told to stop, so he continues to administer the case, continues to exercise his jurisdiction. And so he's going to hold a hearing on this. He may wait to see what Thursday's ruling is. He might delay things a little bit, drag his feet a little bit. But they're basically saying, they're violating your order. And you can't let them thumb your nose at your order, Judge, because you know what that'll happen with the Trump administration. Lord knows what'll happen next. Sheer anarchy. So they're asking him to get them back in the game, get them back into these limited access locations. Don't revoke their press credentials. Call on them if need be, and let them do the reporting. That is the fundamental heart of their business model. And they can't survive. It's their oxygen. They can't survive without it. Tune in. I'll tell you straight right now. We're going to run the live stream of the oral argument on Legal AF, the YouTube channel that I curate, Legal AF MTN, tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Tune in to Legal AF MTN. You're going to see, or hear at least, Judge Pilar, Katsas, and Rayo, and the oral argument being raised on one side by the Trump administration. We'll have to see who shows up. Somebody from I assume from the Solicitor General's office, and the lawyers, Ballard Spahr, who are representing the Associated Press. So we'll probably hear, unless they have an appellate lawyer there, we'll hear from one of their lawyers. It'll probably be, if I had to guess, based on the recent filing, probably Charles Tobin or Max Mishkin or Sasha Dudding. One of them is going to make that argument tomorrow. We're going to cover it. So join us over there, 2 o'clock tomorrow Eastern time on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. While you're there, hit the free subscribe button as we continue to grow that channel. So until my next reporting, I'm Michael Popok. In collaboration with the MeidasTouch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.